Lisa, welcome. Thank you so much for being here today.
I am so happy to be here, Juliet. Thank you for having me as a guest.
So, I recorded your intro earlier, and the thing that I am sure my clients want to know is why you think your dog is a demon.
That is the most important part of my bio. My dog is a demon for many reasons. He is a pandemic puppy and he gets into absolutely everything. Like right now, there's probably something going on in the background that I can't see. And we call our dining room table the table of shame. So whenever he does take something that he's not supposed to take, and we never know what it's going to be, it ends up underneath the table of shame. So he is just like a little furry hurricane going through the house, destroying things.
Uh, we had a lab one time that was like that every
Mhm.
shoe. And when I took him to the vet, they were like, "Yeah, he's going to do this for 2 years." And I'm like, "Why didn't anybody warn me? I
I
like my
know.
shoes."
I
It
know.
wasn't so much mine, it was the kids because the kids never put their shoes away. So,
Yes. Yes.
got
So that
it.
is
Got
just
it.
one of, I could go on for probably an hour about the other ways that he's a demon, but that is just one.
Okay, so when this podcast is over, you guys, we will perform an exorcism. We're not going to do it on screen, but we will do that. We will call in a priest and we will have an exorcism done. How's that?
Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it. I will try anything.
Okay. So I'm excited to talk about our topic today. So people out there, they're doing content. Content is building trust. But you also do direct mail marketing, and there are ways besides that email that, if you don't have a high email rate to open, or on social media where maybe it's down in the feed where people aren't finding it,
Yep.
that you can sell books. So can you tell us a little bit more about direct marketing and why it's so effective for authors?
Yeah, it's really fascinating, at least it is to me, because direct mail, when you hear those words, it seems very outdated, but it's actually maybe even more effective these days than it has been in years. And that applies to every age group. And there's scientific studies behind it. There's marketing research behind it. But it's interesting because a direct mail piece, something that's coming into your physical mailbox or something that's
Mhm.
going directly to the client, it's actually appealing better to human emotions. It's boosting the brand recognition, and it's actually driving purchases. But just disclaimer, but it does need to be part of like an omni-channel campaign. So it should be part of a digital marketing campaign, a social media campaign. It doesn't have to be paid. It can be organic postings on social. It can be an email campaign, but it can be incredibly effective if it is part of a campaign. And it's affordable, more so than some digital advertising. And I know I experience this. There's just tech fatigue. There's just this morning I unsubscribed to two email blasts that I just keep getting. And I'm like, oh my gosh, already unsubscribe. So there's this fatigue. And then direct mail is also a really great way to reach people that aren't following you. They may not subscribe to your newsletter. They're not part of your database. They're not part of your social media following. So for those reasons, those are just some of the top line reasons that can be incredibly effective.
Lisa, I want to go back to something, and it's not related to it's not related to direct mail.
Yeah.
The unsubscribe. I go through at the end of the year and I do much the same. Like, who am I
Yep.
not following? Who am I not using? I am getting an incredible amount of unsolicited email. I've noticed in the last 2 months. And because I was a realtor, I know where that stuff's coming from. But
Yep.
let's just talk about that for a minute.
Sure.
If you are sending out unsolicited emails, if someone has not subscribed to you, you are opening yourself up to a
Yep.
$10,000 per time you do that fine from the Federal Trade Commission.
Yep.
And I don't think a lot of people realize that. And you'd be surprised how many times I hit the button from a realtor who has
Yep.
gotten the list from a title company
Yes.
and thought, oh, I can use it. Or I think you and I actually discussed this the first time we talked. When you
Mhm.
get on the phone with another entrepreneur and then they just put you in their list, that
Oh, I can't stand
drives
that.
me crazy.
And not only is there the financial hit, But there's also like you've eroded the trust all of a sudden. And a lot of this is about trust. Like I need to trust you if I'm going to take the next step. So you've lost that. If you've just added me to it, if you ask me, can I add you to my newsletter? Will you follow it? Will you subscribe? Can I add you to my database? I have the power to say yes or no. But yeah, I don't understand that sort of marketing. It's just not effective.
It's not. And I'm that much of a brat about it that I will hit the reply button and say, unsubscribe me. And if I get another email from you, I will report you because you have to have that mail server. And I'm going to be really transparent. I felt bad yesterday. I sent out a blast
Yep.
via VCTA for an event.
Yep.
And it was supposed to be an invite, and somehow I messed it up, and it actually put people on my calendar. So I was getting
Oh,
text, and I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. That was supposed to be an invite, not a booking. You're welcome to show up or not show up. I don't care." But I felt really bad because I messed it up.
right, but you communicated afterwards and you told them. So that's a big part of it where it's like, oh, okay, I own that. Mistakes happen. That's the downside of all the tech and platforms that we have, but
Mhm.
you owned it. And that's fine. And people know you. I'm sure a lot of people on the list actually know you, like you, trust you. So most likely you didn't do too much damage with that.
Yeah, I don't think I did, but I got a lot of texts about why are you sending me this?
It just took up your time, all of it. Yeah, all of it into your precious time. Is like, oh, now I have to fix this.
So when you do direct mail, are we talking about postcards, letters? What are you talking about? And what is the mail when you take these to the post office? Are they regular mail? Is there a certain class of mail?
Yeah, so there are different types. You can do, like you mentioned, realtors. You'll see those. That's very popular with realtors to say, hey, we just sold a home in your region. Those tend to be the oversized postcards. But then I've worked with like a luxury furniture store. With that one, we did the release glue with those little, you'll get them from DSW or Macy's, where you can tear off the little card. So there's those types of things. It depends what type of business you are and what sort of call to action you have. So if you are a retailer, then you might want one of those little credit card sized cards that you can easily remove from the mailer. And then that's your call to action. There might
Mhm.
be something that you want to tear off and mail back in. I think the most effective and the least expensive way to go is to do the oversized postcard. You can go, USPS actually has a tremendous, easy to use system where you can target by zip code. You can also target residential or commercial, and then you pay per piece. We do typically a QR code. So again, it's an omni-channel campaign. We understand who the client is. You need to understand who your ideal client is. Who are you talking to? Is it a man, a woman? And then we get much deeper than that. Do they love demon dogs? And if they do, then maybe there's a picture of a cute dog on there. It's like just
With
really
horns coming out
with
of
a
its
little,
head.
and exactly, and that actually might appeal, or they're like, huh, what is this piece? So something that's going to align with your branding and speak to your customer. It might have a sense of humor if you're like, my client will really appreciate that. And then there could be a QR code on there. They scan it, they go to a landing page that you created especially to align with the direct mail piece. And then there's something valuable, free that they can download. And that way you're moving them deeper into your funnel. So there's just, I just was reading about this. So there's actually, you're disrupting neurotransmitters with direct mail pieces, which I
Mhm.
just think is fascinating. Like it's not just marketing, marketing, marketing. There's something called the cocktail party effect. When you're at a cocktail party and you're able to drown out all the voices. That's kind of what we're dealing with. When we're being every day, right? We're second screening. I might be watching a show, but I'm also checking my LinkedIn, or you're looking at you're out somewhere taking a walk and an ad pops up or whatever. So the cocktail party effect is, that the human brain can really only focus on one conversation. And if you hear your name, you're going to now hone in on that. Direct mail is kind of like somebody calling your name because it's not fighting for attention with a bunch of other things. You're just looking at your mail, you see a piece, maybe it has the dog with devil horns, and you're like, oh, that's cute. What is that? And then all of a sudden it's personalized, it's relevant, and there's something there that's going to solve a problem that I have, hopefully, because you know your customer. So all of a sudden it is breaking through, but it's also taking them to the next step by taking them onto a landing page. So very long way of answering. I think that you can do any size that fits for whatever your offer is. But that oversized postcard is probably the most popular one that we've done.
There you go. And the headline's going to be Pet Exorcism Made Easy.
Yeah, that is it. I would look at that piece of mail.
I would look at that piece of mail too, even if I didn't have a dog.
Yes, exactly.
So when you do these, what are some of the, when you design these postcards, what are some of the most important elements that you must have on there? And where would we get a list to sell a book? Like where would you find that?
So there are a bunch of different services out there that will sell lists. But like you mentioned, sometimes like if it's a realtor getting a list from a title agency, it could be a list of people that are not interested in there. So there are marketing companies out there that are credible that will sell you a list. And I could get you a whole list of those later if you want to share those. They can be a little pricey, but USPS, again, it depends on the book. So let's say it's a book about cooking a certain style of, Southern cuisine. Then maybe there's a list of people in a certain area that you can market to, or maybe there's a local restaurant that would share their list and sell it. Everybody's selling their lists. So there are a bunch of, I know there, but usually you do have to buy the list.
Yeah. If you
Yeah,
didn't see the look on my face, it was
I
like,
know.
are you kidding? We're
You
not,
gotta
we're never
buy
supposed to
you gotta
sell our
buy the
list.
list usually. But the most powerful thing that you can have is not increasing your social media followers. Yes, that's great. But the most powerful thing that you can do in the marketing world is have your own list. So I would say try to build your database as much as you can. And that isn't by just saying, hey, subscribe to my newsletter. That's going to be using all of your owned media, meaning your website, your social media pages, your landing pages, anything that and I'm air quoting owned, anything you own, you want to ask people to submit just a few pieces of information. People don't want friction. So just give me your name and your email address, and then you're going to get this social media calendar. Like if you're a marketing agency, or I'm going to get you I'm an accountant. I'm going to get you the 5 things you need to do before year's end in order to reduce the tax hit. So whatever business you're in, you want to give them something valuable and free, and then you're more likely to build your database.
Can you tell we're recording this at the end of the year? You guys, I have my books right there getting ready for the
I
account.
know. And yeah, it's true. My mind is there. And even if it is the beginning of the year, February, anytime, people are still trying to get their act together. So
I know. No, my books are always complete on January 2nd. They're ready to go for the account, and I'm just waiting for my 1099. So I am really good about it, but
for you, yeah. So
yeah.
a bunch of different places to get your lists. But the best thing you can do is to try to continually build your own list, because let's say something happens with Facebook tomorrow, you'll still own that list. So you're
Right.
just changing their algorithms all the time. It's less and less powerful to have followers and do anything organic, but that list is gold.
Yeah, and that's a great point for those of you thinking, well, I've got those people on social media. I have personally witnessed 2 events. One is an algorithm change back when Facebook decided that communities were better than business pages, and entrepreneurs that completely lost visibility of huge amounts of people on their business page. And then everybody, I think, has heard on this podcast before the story of MySpace. I had a friend who had over 300,000 subscribers to an online magazine.
Oh my
And
God.
that they subscribed, they grabbed it on there. So when MySpace went out and Facebook came in, she lost she was getting ad revenue, because 300,000 followers is a good, especially back then,
Yep.
good chunk. So
Yeah.
you have to have, it's so important what Lisa's talking about, that backup where these people are in your CRM or your mail server. And by the way, your CRM, that's an excellent place to get addresses and mail out for the book instead of sending out email blasts and things like that for a bestseller campaign.
Absolutely. It really is. Yeah. And then use social media to drive people to your landing page. And the word landing page sometimes I find is confusing to people. So a landing page is simply, it's separate from your website. It has a separate URL. It is literally a one page online page. And it's got some sort of form at the bottom, typically. And that's where you're going to have information that is very specific to your book, to a speaking engagement, to something that's much smaller, maybe than your website. It's much more narrowly focused. So landing page is also a great for SEO. You want to make sure that you've researched your keywords and phrases, and those are being used on the landing page, especially again, if you're selling, if you're really focusing on selling a book, that's a very specific content. Going back to the cookbook theme, there might be a free recipe for Valentine's Day. You know, it's like, here's something with oysters or one of the aphrodisiac.
Demons and
Demons?
what would you call that?
Dem-
Aphrodisiacs today.
yeah, demons and angels, or no, not even quite an angel. So, yeah, so the landing page can be also a really, really nice tool, easy to put together. You know, a lot of people do them on their own, but there's got to be a very clear call to action at the end of that, so you can ultimately build your list. So just keep building your list, but using different entry points, social media, email campaigns, and landing page.
Yeah, absolutely. Those landing pages too, something to say. A lot of people want to put this stuff on their site. You have 3 seconds on your site to keep somebody there.
Yes.
If you don't have that, an opt-in there of some sort, they'll go off to the other areas of your site if they stay at all.
Yes.
So that's why that landing page is so important. It's separate. It has one directive.
Yeah, and make sure it's not too cluttered, because the average human brain, we can only hold 5 to 9 pieces of information at one time. So the biggest mistake I see when we're working on people's websites or marketing is they cram it with information. And I'm like, nobody's reading this. You just mentioned we have a few seconds to capture them. So make sure there's something compelling. The image is clear. I have maybe a fun headline, not just a dry headline. I don't care if you're an accountant, make it fun. And
Yeah,
then just give me 5 to 9 pieces of information. I think even 9 is too much. That
I
sounds like
think
a
that,
lot,
yeah, I do
but
4.
yeah, yeah.
I
So
usually do 3 to 4. Yeah.
I think that's smart.
Yeah. You know what I think people confuse it with a lot is a sales letter. And does anybody even do sales letters anymore? Because I can't remember the last time I took the time to read through a sales letter. I think they're pretty much obsolete at this point.
No, and not even LinkedIn. Like, I am not connecting with anybody who, first of all, if you don't put a note in there, I need to know who you are. And then even sometimes the note is, hey, your profile really impressed me. I see those words and I decline.
Let's go there. Let's absolutely go there. So if you're working with a LinkedIn professional and they give you this canned thing, I do the same thing. I have actually, if I have time and I'm a major smartass, I will get them back and say, so what did you find that was so impressive about
I
me?
love it. I love it.
Like I will go there because it's just silly, especially when you see, like at the beginning of the year, you're going to see all of them like right in a row. You're going to get the same message over and over and over and over because those people are like, oh, I'm working with a LinkedIn expert. Let's get that canned message.
Yep.
And so I rarely, but you know what? Let's talk about that for a minute. That's not content.
Mm-mm.
Content is a trust builder and
Yep.
it's informative. You're actually giving people, you're being a server,
Yep.
not a seller. So if
Yes.
you open up your LinkedIn and there's a bunch of things in there, sales, da 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 da, that person is not a server.
No,
A
no.
server will go with their content and they'll build your trust. A
Yes.
seller, just, hey, here it is. Click on it and buy it. Thank you so much. I don't want to put the work in to get your trust. It's
Yeah.
like the bad boyfriend we were just talking about.
I know we've covered a lot of ground. Yes.
I know, right? Beforehand, it's like the guy who just wants to go straight to that, third date, let's have sex without getting to know you. That's the
Yeah.
same mentality.
Exactly. You've got to build that trust. And I've heard it takes as many as 20 touch points
Yeah.
to actually get your message heard. And direct mail is just one of those touch points. But it's really that you need to continually serve, not sell. And that is the biggest mistake I see is that they're going straight to the sell. It's like, it's like somebody walked up to me on the street and was like, "Hey, you want to buy a watch?" It was like, who are you? How do I know that's a real watch? Like, you want to
Was
buy a
that in New
Rolex?
York City where they have those little pop-up tables with
Yes.
the fakey
Yeah.
watch? Want to buy a Rolex for $10?
And at least there you know it's fake. But it's like, I don't know, you're coming to me and you seem credible. You have like a LinkedIn profile and followers, and we might have some mutual connections, but I still don't know who you are. And yeah,
Yeah.
you're impressed by my profile. Like, I love that to actually push back. Although then I have to deal with their response potentially if they look through it and be like, "Oh, I'm really impressed where you went to school or with your job history." Or it's like, I don't even want to get into a conversation with
I
them.
know.
But I love that you do it.
I don't expect an answer. I expect you to realize you just used something canned and silly.
Exactly. It's
So
not working. And if you're paying somebody to do that, stop paying them because it's not effective. Yeah, we need
yeah,
to, yeah, we need to build trust. And I feel like people are more skeptical now than ever. So you've really got to develop a relationship. You've got to show that you understand the problems of your ideal customer, that you really do understand them, and that you can solve them. And if you don't show that and you go straight to the sell, then you've missed that opportunity. When we write content for clients, we'll follow, if we're putting together, let's say, social media posts, we'll follow see, think, and do. The do is the sell. But first, you need to have them see that you exist, and that's by proving your credibility. Get them thinking, and that could be with some sort of thought leadership piece or statistics or something. And then you can go into the sell a little bit of like, "Hey, I'm doing a webinar. I would love for you to join." You're not going to sell them multi-thousand-dollar program, but,
right.
and then it's rinse and repeat. See, think, do.
Yeah, I love that. I used a little bit more. I've got 4 steps in there, but those 4 steps, I want all you authors heads up here, just like Lisa just said, 4 steps. You have to create curiosity. First of all, they have to be curious, then they engage, then you nurture them, then you sell. That's where the content comes in though,
Yes.
and where so many authors fail. They're like, "Oh, I wrote this book. Now everybody's going to buy it." Well,
Mm.
you have these limiting factors. How many social media followers do you have? How many people are in your list? That's probably the maximum number of people that are going
Mm.
to buy that book, because they're not going to find it just randomly over on Amazon unless you've run ads. So
Exactly.
when you're
Exactly.
thinking about building this, that content is essential to take people to that next step, which is that nurture book.
And that goes back to that, direct mail is seen as more trustworthy. It's breaking through that clutter and it's reaching people that you might not necessarily currently be reaching.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's why it is looking into it. It does go back to getting the right list, but there might be a great partner that you can, if you don't have a budget, then it might be aligning yourself with somebody who is complementary to your
Yes.
business
Mhm.
and share their list with you. And then you send something out. But yeah, there was some interest, we do want to, we need to repeat our message, but not verbatim. We need to reach out, but say in different ways. And authors are really fortunate because they have so much great content because they wrote a book. So check, 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 like fantastic. But now it's just bundling it and getting it out in different ways and maybe putting it into downloadable pieces or whatever. But yeah, it was interesting. I just saw this statistic earlier. When somebody gets a direct mail piece before they see a social media ad, their long-term memory encoding was 44% stronger, which I thought was fascinating. So that, going back to that omni-channel,
Uh-huh.
and then when a direct mail piece follows digital interactions, like any sort of digital interaction, brand recall, and what they call arousal rates, like the direction our conversation's taking, increased by over 25%. So
Wow. This is releasing the day before Valentine's Day too. So maybe you just
I think I've tapped into yeah, I didn't expect this to take a turn that way, but yeah, I mean, get that arousal rate up with your clients.
Well, notes, Lisa, where can we find you if we want to know more?
Oh my God, this was awesome.
Where can we find you?
So you can find me at munjakmarketing.com. That's my site. And that's probably the best way to reach out. And then Lisa at munjakmarketing.com.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. This was a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Hopefully,
Great conversation. Thank you so much.
hopefully my audience had fun too.
I hope so. Really, thank you so much for having me.